Hearty shalom to you, Jeffrey Seif here. We are at the cusp of a new year, and I hope you're looking at it optimistically. You know, faith-filled people do that. It doesn't mean, of course, that we're exempted from the challenges of living experience. I mention that here on the front end because in Acts chapter 20, we have an intrepid, bold apostle on the move. Actually, he's been stationary for some time, the longest since being commissioned, since being dispatched from Antioch to go out into the world and preach the gospel to the Gentiles particularly. He's been hunkered down in Ephesus. And in the 19th chapter, a battle royal raged. Paul writes the Corinthians and he says, you know, if I have fought with beasts at Ephesus, I mean, he wasn't rolling around in the arena dust with lions and tigers and bears, but it's a poetic expression that a battle royal was on and God delivered him from that. I mentioned that in chapter 20, verse 1, after the uproar had ended. He was at the beginning of the uproar. You know, sometimes, you know, Jesus is marketed, you accept Jesus, it'll be the end of your troubles. Sometimes it's the beginning because of, you know, warfare, especially so if we're minded to advocate for the kingdom of God. Anybody that advocates for anything is in trouble. I mean, I think of our president right now. You know, the only way to avoid criticism is to say nothing, be nothing, and do nothing. As soon as you stand up to be an actor into the land of the living, you're going to have resistance. And, you know, it's resistance on steroids if you're advocating for the kingdom. Well, there's an uproar and it runs its course. And then Paul, we're told in chapter 20, verse 1, sent for the disciples. And when he encouraged them and said farewell, he departed to go to Macedonia. He is headed for northern Greece. We're told when he'd passed through these parts and given them a great word of exhortation, encouragement, he came to Greece, where he spent 3 months. Paul travels. He is an encourager wherever he goes. Encourage, you know, to infuse people with courage. Discourage, suck it out. Encourage, to pump it in. And he was there. He learned that a plot was formed against him by the Jewish leaders as he was about to sail to Syria. He's going back to Antioch, Syria. His ministry has run his course, and he's minded now to go back to Syria. His biographer tells us, however, he learns that there's a plot among Judean leaders to do him in. He's carrying money at the time. Revenue was collected. He has individuals with him, and I don't know that they were so much after his money as after his life. I like the way the TLV wants to clarify that there are Jewish leaders that are bent on his demise. The culture, the more so, was minded to read it as, you know, all the Jews collectively are going thumbs down on Paul, and that just does not comport with my sense and sensibilities. It doesn't comport with just a casual reading of the text. And I like the way the TLV brings that out. Doesn't want to pin disdain on the Jewish donkey, on the tail of the Jewish donkey. It rests on the heads of some. In any case, there's a plot that's formed and Paul gets wind of it. And we're told he decided to return by way of Macedonia. He changed his plans. Now, we're looking at a man here who's sandwiched in between troubles. There was a battle royal that raged in Ephesus, and he escaped that probably. You know, there's an uproar there, and he's thinking that if he, you know, now's as good a time as any to leave, maybe that'll help quiet it down. He's really, in so many ways, seen as the upstart. It's his message, but he's the messenger. So he's like the lightning rod on top of the barn. He gets the negative energy. It hits on him. And so he goes to encourage, and then once again, he's the lightning rod on top of the barn, chupum, and the energy's hitting on him. there was a plot for his life. Now, when you're in trouble back in the world here, you just don't dial 911 and wait for the police to come and get there and file a report. It's not that simple. When people are on the road in a world where most people didn't leave their kinfolk, they didn't leave their clan, they stayed where they were born, where they knew people. Once you launch off into the deep and you just you travel, you really are throwing the dice against an uncertain future. It's so very precarious out there, but God is with him. There's a plot for his life. He gets wind of it and he readjusts. He's going to make it to Syria, but he has to change his plans. I think there's a good word in that, by the way. There's an old saying, blessed are the flexible, they will not be broken. I mention that because sometimes we have to flex a little bit in light of circumstances that are less than hoped for. We all kind of dodge bullets as we move forward. You know, if you're going to be a heavyweight fighter, it's just not throwing out knockout blows. You got to take them too. It's just the way it is. And so it is here with Paul. If you take a snapshot of his life, you know, this is the proverbial, you know, out of the frying pan into the fire. But even through it all, God raised him to be the most successful of them all. He certainly is the one known as the apostle who was particularly intrepid. He was bold. You know, there's the Hebrew expression kadima, which means forward. Well, he definitely, he definitely was a forward thinking and moving visionary. He surely was. But his movements didn't go uncontested. And I don't want to just keep beating the point to death. I want to encourage you that if you find yourself in circumstances that are less than hoped for, and I might say that we all can have people that are nipping in our heels, not necessarily trying to kill us, but we might be aware that not everyone is a friend. I'm at a place in my life at 63 where my preference is just to work with friends. It doesn't mean I always get it. But I kind of figured I paid my dues and I want to retire out and I want to have a bulwark against the angst that exists in the broader culture. And my preference is to work with friends. Well, you can construct that, but, negative things have a way of slipping through the barriers, or we're just not exempted from it. And you can find yourself being pinched by people and circumstance every now and again. Keep flexible. You might have to alter your plans a little bit as you're looking forward to the new year, but just go with it because it's just the way that it is. I often say, and I'm sure I've often maybe too many times said it on these tapes, that, people market religion as join this church and everything's going to be rosy. It's really not like that. Certainly wasn't like that for him. It's not like that for me. If something sounds too good to be true, it is. Simple as that. But thank God for God. And this Paul says of a God who always leads him in triumph. He's going to escape this plot. He's going to get united with his friends and brothers. And onward he's going to go to accomplish God's purposes to him and through him. And as it was with him, so it is with people like me and you. God bless. Let's do it again. See you in a week.